Hello everyone. I had done a short video on this landing gear, so what I want to do is just briefly go everything I've done so far. We did put the landing gear together, and I did a video showing how that snaps in. Well, that's how I did it, but you can actually take these legs and slide it all the way down and bolt it in. So I got those sections all together. It was sitting here on the floor. And then with a helper, we lifted up the whole airframe and set it on and then bolted it down. Okay, so like I said, I want to just go through everything I've done. And then on this intake hose, when it comes from the factory, it kind of, it sets at an angle more towards the outside where it would be interfering with the cowling. So what we had to do is cut this tube off at an angle. Let's see, cameraman, you can come over here. We had to cut this tube off and took about 6 millimeters off on an angle to get that to fit right. So it's pointing more towards this side. And so then after that, was done, you can stay there. After that was done, I took and installed this drive pulley with the blower. The blower's already attached. So I'm going to get on a different angle here. Cameraman, you got to come over from here. Install this blower or pulley, and then on the back side of this is the bolts that had to be torqued. So the factory has a special wrench to get in there to torque it, and so that's all been installed with that blower that's on there. And then the next step I did was installed this lateral, I'm looking at my notes here, torque support. This here is what aligns the engine. Cameraman, just get an angle from over here. This rod right here that I'm pointing at, that's used for setting up the side, the left and right load of the engine to keep it in line. The next thing was the engine mount that was down on that side, which has another adjustment rod. This engine mount here allows also to set up the left and right load on the engine or the bearings on the front of the crankshaft. Then let's see, we started to install the engine on the frame then. So I guess cameraman, you got to come all the way around. So we put these engine mount brackets on here on both sides, left and right, and added I guess that's called a upper connection profile, this part here. This got added to it with the rubber mounts, and was all we had to put this, it's a stainless steel threaded shaft that goes through there, and you tighten up the mounts, and those mounts at this point right here, you have to mic it or measure it in however way you can get it, but you got to set the compression on that at 22 millimeters, which is equal to 866 thousandths. And I just use a caliper where I could put it on both sides of that and get a good accurate measurement. Let's see, now, cameraman, go around this side. The other thing next was to, stay back, cameraman. You got to get this engine exactly in the center of the frame. So what I found to be the best was to take either a level like I have, because it's just a good straight edge, or if you have a straight edge, And then you can, let me get around here, you can use a protractor just to get a straight edge. Now what what we're doing is we're trying to get this measurement of this center bolt from the crankshaft. We want to get a straight edge on here where you can lay it on here, rest it against the mount, against the tube here, and put a pencil line up here and do the same on that side. And then between those two pencil lines, because that's representing the frame, you measure that total distance and then measure or calculate half of that, put a pencil line on your straight edge, and then you can put a pencil line if you want on the center of that bolt. And then what you do is tighten up this lateral torsion bar here. Either tighten it or loosen it, whichever way you gotta go to get this line centered. So that I found to be the best way. You can use a 2x4 or anything that's straight, but you gotta make sure that you're measuring between this frame and that frame, perfectly center. So you always want to make it equal. And the way I made it equal is I measured from here to the level and that end to the level, and it came out pretty good. So that worked out great using that level. The next thing I did, cameraman, you can stay there. Next thing I did is I installed this oil tank. This tank has to be installed with a certain dimension also. There's a gap between the top of the tank. Cameraman, come over on this side. From the top of the tank to this bracket, you want to measure that, and they give you a dimension on that too. It's 10 millimeters, or that's equal to 394 thousandths of an inch. You know, so put that in, and you face your hoses from this tank towards the engine. So just face them that way. You can always change it if you need to move it a little bit later. And then the other thing I had to do, we're going to come back over to this intake tube. There's a heat shield that goes on here, and I found that to be a little difficult lining up exactly the way it's supposed to be because of one of the holes that seemed like was off. And then I checked with the factory and I found out that they did make a modification. I had to add a hole. So everything worked out perfect then. Got everything exactly where it has to go. So let's see. Then what I did is I mounted this pressure valve to the top of the engine. So you got some wires here that I think they come from the turbocharger, and then some hoses here. So you just, the book lines it up, or the manual, it shows you exactly where to put it. And of course, after I mounted this down, it's actually held onto this mount with stainless steel Allen screws. So I put that all together, put the paint marks on it so we know if it's coming loose. And then the other thing I did is this one wire coming down, it goes to these pressure switches. You got they're pressure and temperature switches, or sensors. And so those are all mounted after installing this mounting plate. So I think I'm catching up on everything. Right now I'm starting to do this, it's called an intercooler channeler, and what that does actually just channels the air for cooling. So I think pretty much explained everything here that I've done so far. Of course, there's a lot of little things in between that had to happen, but right now everything is going pretty smooth. There's little tricks and things that you learn as you go, but it's still, everything falls in place. So anyhow, we're gonna just end the video right here, and then we'll continue another day as I go on. So Talk to you later.